Hello and welcome to today's video. Now, this is a video I said before I was not going to do, and that was a final power ranking video for the season. But I kind of realized that it was necessary to do a final power ranking video for the season because the season power ranking standings that we ended on at the end of the regular season, the stage 4 power rankings didn't really represent the season, and neither did the power rankings that we swapped throughout the playoffs. Didn't really represent the ultimate ending of the season. So I figured the best thing to do was to do a brand new power rankings, whole new note thing here, remake the entire power rankings, just go from there. And we're going to do it in a very similar format to our other power ranking videos we did throughout the season. So for me, making the power rankings here was a very, very difficult thing because I had to think of the whole season from the first day, January 10th, all the way until July 27th for the final match. And it was really difficult for me to really put this together in the best possible format that I could do, but taking all those games into account. This is the best I could do. So the first three, I think, were kind of a lock for what they were going to be, and the bottom two. But kind of fitting in from 4 to 10, because there was a lot of solid teams towards the end of the season. Some teams that were going up towards the end, some teams that were going down. And it was really hard to piece it all together. So here's what we got. Coming in number 12, finishing 12th in the standings in the regular season, the Shanghai Dragons. They were 0-40. They finished with 21, 41, and 2 on maps, differential of negative 120. Obviously, they don't appear in the playoffs. Shanghai Dragons, it was easy to put them at the bottom. There was really no time during the season that I had Shanghai not ranked in last. And I don't know, it was just kind of, it was hard to not put them last all season. They had that one time they had some new players come in, like they had a potential to get a win. They got moved up, but it was between Shanghai and in number 11th in 11th place, the Florida Mayhem. Again, that was really easy to do. They were 11th. They were 7-33. They were 42, 120, and 5 on maps, differential of negative 78. Florida Mayhem obviously didn't have a good season either, considering that 4 of their 7 wins were against the Shanghai Dragons. That's obviously only 3 games the rest of the season they beat other teams. So Florida was almost equally as bad as Shanghai was, in the fact that their only wins were basically against Shanghai. And I don't remember who else they beat. Dallas, maybe? I think so. I don't really remember. All right, coming in number 10. This is where it gets hard. I put Dallas Fuel in 10th. But they had a really good finish to their stage. If we look here at stage number 4, Dallas Fuel came in 4th in that stage. So it wasn't like they played bad, but Dallas Fuel, for most of the season, was a bottom tier team. And that is why I put them in the spot. They really played well in the 4th stage, but the first 3 stages, we see nothing good out of them. So that's why I put Dallas Fuel there. They were 12-28 in the season, 58, 10, and 7. Differential of negative 42. Again, Dallas Fuel, not really that good for the first 3 stages. Kind of came alive in the end. I think they won 6 of their 12 games in the final stage. So you can see why I put them towards the bottom. All right, coming in 9th, we have the Philadelphia Fusion. Now, this may be a surprise to you guys. Philadelphia Fusion were the 6th place team. They made the playoffs, made the finals. But Philadelphia was too inconsistent for my liking. That's why I have them here. Philadelphia was 24-16. They were 93, 80, and 2, differential of 13. They're tied for the worst positive map differential. I just didn't really see anything out of Philadelphia Fusion that I really liked for a lot of the season. I think they were just super inconsistent. I was surprised, honestly, they made the playoffs. I think if Houston or Seoul made the playoffs, either one of them would have performed better than Philadelphia did. I mean, I guess you can't even say better than Philadelphia because they made it to the playoffs. But I think, honestly, Philadelphia wouldn't have even made the finals if the playoffs had been not a bye week and a meta change and all that shit that really hurt the Excelsior. I think you probably would have seen New York and London in the finals. So that's why I put Philadelphia down here. They just aren't as good of a team as people say they are. Alright, coming in number 8 is the Houston Outlaws. They were a hard team to rank because they had potential to be a good team. But a lot of their players aren't really that good. I don't like the Houston Outlaws that much. There's nothing about them that I think is good either. But I think if they made the playoffs, they would have done a decent job in the playoffs because I think they would. I don't know. I just think that they could be a decent team, maybe. I don't know. Kind of unsure about Houston, but I put them above Philadelphia just because I feel like they would have done better in the playoffs. They were 22-18, 94, 77-2, differential 17. They didn't play super bad, but they had a bad stage. Didn't they have 2 bad stages? I think they had stage 2 and 3 they were bad. Right? Yeah, because they made stage 1. They made stage 1 playoffs and lost to New York. Isn't that what happened? Or am I having the 2 mixed up? Let's see. I think it was stage 1. Yeah, Houston did make stage. Oh, Houston lost to London. Stage 2. Yeah. Alright, stage 1 it was Houston that made it. Stage 2 is Philadelphia that made it. Stage 3 it was the Valiant Gladiators. Stage 4 was Fuel that were new. Okay. Dope. Alright, so that's the thing. Outlaws were good at the start, but they kind of struggled in the 2 stages, so that's why they sort of went down here. Alright, coming in number 7, Boston Uprising. They had an undefeated stage, but they had 2 really, really bad stages. Boston Uprising were 26-14. They were 3rd overall going into the playoffs, and they took on the Philadelphia Fusion in the first match of the playoffs. They had 91-71 and 3rd differential of 28. Boston Uprising had a good stage. If it wasn't for that undefeated stage, they probably wouldn't be in the playoffs. Just say that right now. The first 2 stages, they were a pretty bad team. The first stage, they were... Let's see what their records were in each stage. I think they had a pretty bad first stage, didn't they? Stage 1, let's see. Stage 1, Boston was 6-4. Okay, they were decent. Stage 2... So they were 6-4 2 times. Stage 3, they went 10-0, and then they went 4-6. So they were definitely like a 7th place team, 6th or 7th place team all season. So they probably would have barely made the playoffs if they didn't have that undefeated stage. So that's the thing. Boston Uprising, they're there. All right, Soul Dynasty comes in 6th place. Of course, everyone knows my favorite team. I think it's pretty obvious. But I didn't just put them here because they're my favorite team. I think they honestly... They had a shot to make the playoffs up until the last week. I feel like they were the better team of the 3 teams at the bottom of the... Or trying to get in that 6th place. Seoul, Houston, or Philadelphia. I think they were the best team. They had the better players. They just obviously had a lot of coaching issues, I think was their main thing. I know they fired all their coaches after the end of the season, which I think was a good change. They didn't have an issue at main tank, but, you know, the rest of their positions were pretty good, I'd say, overall. So I think, besides the issue with coaches, they could have probably made it in to the playoffs and done a little bit better than the other teams. But Seoul Dynasty was 22-18, 91, 78, and 3 on maps, and 3rd team out differential. And I put them in 6th over Boston because if you look at every stage except for stage number 3, I believe Seoul Dynasty was ahead or about equal with Boston. So Again, I said Boston was about a 6th or 7th place team. Seoul's about the 6th or 7th place team. It was really whatever one you want to put in 6th. Obviously, my teams that should have made the playoffs, I'm going to put Seoul above Boston. But, 6th or 7th place was where Seoul was about most of the season. I think if we look at their stages, Stage 1, Seoul came in 5th. Stage 2, they came in 4th. Stage 3, they came in 7th. And Stage 4, where the hell were they in Stage 4? Oh my god, they were 10th? Yikes. Oh yeah, they were garbage in Stage 4, I remember that. That was terrible to watch. But London Spitfire were also terrible in Stage 4 as well. They only had one more win than Seoul. So again, you see that they were between like 4th and 8th, I'd say. So again, they're one of those teams that could have made the playoffs, I think. Alright, coming in number 5, the Los Angeles Gladiators. They are a very, very good team. Well, what did I just say? They're a very good team if they have Fisher playing, is what I should say. Fisher playing, they're a very good team. Without Fisher playing, and they have iRemix play, they're a bit of a yikes. So the Los Angeles Gladiators, 25-15, 96-72-3, no differential 24. Not really sure why they didn't play Fisher in the playoffs or something. The Gladiators were 4-6 before they got Fisher in Stage 1, and they were 6-4. Stage 3, they added him, and Stage 4, they had him, and they did pretty good. So without him, the Gladiators probably would not be a playoff team either. So we've established if the Gladiators didn't have Fisher, if the Uprising didn't have an undefeated thing, they probably would both not be in it. And then probably put Seoul Dynasty and Houston Outlaws in, is what we've determined. Alright, so that's my thing with the Gladiators. Number 4 is the San Francisco Shock. That may be very surprising, considering how low we put Dallas for having 2 bad stages, or 3 bad stages. The San Francisco Shock themselves had 2 bad stages. In stage... Oh, we didn't say the thing. The Shock were 17-23. There's 77, 84, and 5 differential of -7. San Francisco Shock were 5-5. Oh, wait, that's the wrong stage. San Francisco Shock were 3-7. No, they were 3-7. Oh, my God. And they were 3-7. So... start off, they were pretty bad in the early stages. They're young players. Most of them became 18 right around the beginning of stage number 3, and they started doing good 6-4 and 5-5. So they had put together some pretty good stages. So that's why I put the San Francisco Shock at the top, because they really, if they made the playoffs, they would have been a dangerous team. They just didn't have time to do it. If they had those players since stage 2, if all the young players, I don't remember all their names, but if they all were 18 at the time, stage number 2 instead of stage number 3, they would definitely have been a threat in the playoffs, so they would have had a couple more wins. But obviously they didn't have enough time to do it because they only had 6 wins in the first 2 stages, and they got 6 wins in the 3rd stage. So they doubled their wins in 1 stage. Alright, so they're going to be a threat in the next season. Hopefully they expand to 8 teams next season with the addition of 6 new ones. Alright, coming in 3rd, the Los Angeles Valiant. I thought this was a pretty easy choice here. The Valiant had the 2nd best record. They looked pretty good entering the playoffs. They had the bye as well. But, as I said, the bye hurt the top 2 teams here. So... coming in here in 3rd, Los Angeles Valiant, they were 27-13. They were the only other team besides New York Excelsior to get 100 map wins. They were 167-7, differential of 36. So they played pretty well. They, of course, were the winner of the Pacific Division. And look at how their stages went. The Los Angeles Valiant were 7-3 in the first stage, barely missing the stage playoffs along with Seoul Dynasty. Stage number 2, they took a big drop down, and they were 4-6. Then they got a couple new players. Space became old enough to play, and he's crazy on D.Va. They also got Custa from Dallas Fuel, really good healer, and that really helped them. And of course, stage number 4, they also did really well. So they got a bunch of good players. Well, they had one player become 18, one player in a trade, and it really boosted the team to the second best record and third overall here in our power rankings. All right, so coming in number 2 in our power rankings is the New York Excelsior. The reason why is obviously the champion gets to be the number 1 in our power rankings to end the season. The New York Excelsior were 34-6. They were 126, 43-4, and they had an average of 83. They were crazy all season long. They were the best team. They should have been the champions. But when you give a team a month off from playing, and all they can do is practice, it's pretty difficult to come back and do good. So, the New York Excelsior, in Stage 1, they were 9-1, and they were the runner-up in that stage. Stage number 2, they were the stage champions going 9-1. Stage number 3, they were the stage champions going 9-1. Stage number 4, they kind of just memed around and lost 3 games. And had about a month off from playing going in the playoffs, and that's why they didn't get to be the number 1 team. But if we had New York and London in the finals, that would have been a great finals match. That probably would have been 5 maps. You probably would have seen 15 maps total instead of 4 and 3, and it was done. Because Philadelphia was pretty garbage in that game. Anybody who thought Philadelphia had a chance, you're wild. All right, so coming in here, number 1 on our power rankings, of course, they finished 5th overall in the league in the regular season, but became the Season 1 champions. The 2018 Overwatch League champions, London Spitfire, were 5th overall. They were 24-16. Oh, they also won 100 maps. I said another team besides New York, but London also won 100 maps. They were 102, 69-3, differential of 33. And your Season 1 champions also were Stage 1 champions. They went 7-3, but beat New York in the end. Stage number 2, they were 8-2, but got beat by Philadelphia, so they didn't get a chance to even play for the money. Stage number 3, they were in 6th, they were 5-5. And in stage number 4, they were 4-6, so they were really on the decline until the playoffs, and they sort of went back up. The thing that helped London Spitfire was the thing that they decided to do was cut their roster down. They had 12 players, the biggest roster, and finished with 7 players, the smallest roster. Which is kind of crazy because Florida came in with only 6 players. London had the biggest roster, ended with the smallest roster. I think had Seoul Dynasty done that, they could have also had a chance to be a little better because what hurt both Seoul and London was able to figure it out better, was cut the players that we didn't need and focus on our main 7 players. Because that's what they do in the Overwatch World Cup. They have 7 players. Your main 6, 1 person to sub in. And that's what London did. They had 6 players, and they ran with it. They had 1 to sub in. They didn't try all these crazy switches. Let's switch this healer with this DPS and this DPS with this tank. They just said, here's our players. We're going to switch 1 person. And honestly, it was beneficial. Most teams figured out, I think, towards the end of the league to stop making so many switches. Because it's easy to read. If you're like, oh, this person's our Zara main, and they come in to play this one map to play Zara, or this person's our Widow expert, and they're going to play Widowmaker on this one map, you know how to kind of counter that and go against it. So, if you have 1 player who can play more characters, it's better than having 1 player who can play 1 character and come in on 1 map. So, I think it's very beneficial to have maybe less players, 7 or 8, you sub in 1 or 2, but everybody can play a lot more. Because at that level, they're so good at so many characters. So, I think that's the thing. London figured it out. I think in the next season you'll see it figured out. Because another team, New York Excelsior, they were really good. They rarely made switches. They made a couple more. They might switch out 1 healer first, but they're both really good healers. And they switch them out. And they might switch Pine in because dude's wild on Widowmaker, but he wasn't really necessary because they had Saviobi on Widowmaker, who was just as wild. And Libera was also just as wild, so it really wasn't necessary to make those switches either, but Both those teams did really good. So that's our final power rankings again. To go over it for you. 12th place, Shanghai Dragons. 11th place, Florida Mayhem. 10th place, Dallas Fuel. 9th place, Philadelphia Fusion. 8th place, Houston Outlaws. 7th place, Boston Uprising. 6th place, Seoul Dynasty. 5th place, Los Angeles Gladiators. 4th place, San Francisco Shock. 3rd place, Los Angeles Valiant. 2nd place, New York Excelsior. And 1st place, Season 1 champions, London Spitfire. So that is the final power rankings for season number 1. We'll be back with power rankings. Preseason or not doing preseason, but we're going to do, I don't know, we might do preseason power rankings, like just going into preseason, and then after preseason. We'll see. But there's most likely going to be 18 teams to do power rankings of instead of 12. So we'll see how the new teams go in after free agency and all that. So we'll see. We'll probably be back with power rankings in November, December. So it'll be a little bit of time off, a couple months, but we'll be back. What was that, 4 months? This video's going up in August. Yeah, that's like 3 or 4 months. So it's not going to be that long. Without power rankings videos, we'll be back. In the time, of course, we're going to have more Overwatch League news, Overwatch World Cup news. That's mostly what this channel's about these days. But yeah, we'll see. We'll be back. Of course, hope you guys enjoyed the power ranking videos throughout the season. Definitely was unexpected, but I sat down and I'm like, you know what? Let's just do it. Yeah, that's that. So, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in season number 2 for preseason. Yay! Oh, the other news. One other team's get announced. There's 3 other cities that can still be announced, because Paris, Guangzhou, Atlanta got announced. 3 more cities, when they get announced, we'll talk about them. Yeah.